Welcome to TV Africa News. Thank you so much for joining us and always being part of us. This is Africa Today. My name is Nahara Kajura, but first are the headlines. MPs threaten to censure more ministers over Karamoja Iron Sheet scandal. Top Sudan General calls October coup a mistake, vows to hand over power. Egypt unveils renovated wing of Cairo Museum. In a sports news today, Wakiso Giants prolongs Vipers' goal drought. Once again, thank you so much for joining us. We start with one of our top stories. Now, President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni has warned politicians in Sirari County against voters, which he says cannot change people's welfare in the next 5 years. Now, President Museveni made the warning as he campaigned for the NRM flag bearer in Sirari Town Council. We have more on this report.
In his address to voters in Sirari County, President Museveni explained that the answer to people's problems is not bribes but the Parish Development Model (PDM), a government anti-poverty project that is premised on a parish as the epicenter of community development, planning, implementation, supervision and accountability. The president said that the money that has been pumped into PDM can help the more than 821 parishes in Teso to get out of poverty. He also said his government has shown the message to fight ignorance, but the people have failed to listen to their message. He cited the introduction of free education for all in 1997, but the program has found resistance from some head teachers who are charging parents and pupils money. Mr. Museveni revealed that there are 723 primary schools in Teso that get about 7 billion shillings from the government for the children of the poor citizens to study for free. On the issue of Lake Kyoga, the president explained that his decision to deploy the army on the lakes has restored fish stocks and that 15 fish factories out of the 22 that had closed are now operating.
Thank you so much, our reporter. Moving on in our top stories, members of parliament have threatened to censure ministers who failed to discharge their responsibility to the public. Now, the legislators made the remarks in relation to the recent Iron Sheet scandal that has rocked the office of the Prime Minister. Our reporter has more.
According to the recent reports, iron sheets that were procured to support the vulnerable in Karamoja region ended up in Karamoja Affairs Minister Mary Goretti Chitutu's home. The MPs who are returning from a 2 weeks recess say a probe into the affair should be the House's first order of business. Bujiri Municipality MP Asman Basalira expressed concern about the unending scandals at OPM despite the recent change in guard, saying this could point to a much-needed audit on all ministries under OPM. The GEMA president's remarks come as legislators zero on some of their priorities going forward. Bukoli Central MP Solomon Sidwanyi said that as NRM, they will have to push for more bills to evaluate how far they have gone with manifesto implementation.
Thank you so much, our reporter. We take a quick break. We shall come back with the international news. Welcome back for the break. You're still watching TV Africa, the right to know. In international news, one of Sudan's top generals who led a coup against the country's transitional government in 2021 has called the takeover a mistake. Now, in a speech delivered on Sunday, General Mohammed, who leads the country's paramilitary known as the Rapid Support Forces, said he regretted the move. We have more on this report.
The head of country's paramilitary, known as the Rapid Support Forces, said that he learned a lot in the school of life. He claimed that one of the most important lessons is that the old past of Sudan is unfair and regrettable, adding that when he saw young men and women of the glorious December Revolution, he did not hesitate to stand with them against injustice of the defunct regime, its tyranny and corruption. He said that he wanted to share their desire to change for the better and build Sudan, and tried as much as he could and got hurt at the time and made mistakes sometimes. Sudan has been plunged into turmoil since the country's leading military figure, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, led a coup in October 2021 that derailed the country's democratic transition after the ousting of former President Omar al-Bashir in 2019. In a motion seeking to end the impasse, Sudanese military and one of the country's main pro-democracy groups, the Forces for the Declaration of Freedom and Change, signed a framework deal December 5th vowing to install a new civilian government and remove the military from the power.
Moving on, in international news, the Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities in Egypt has unveiled a renovated wing of its oldest museum in the capital, Cairo, on Monday. Now, the refurbishment of the museum wing marks the start of a border renovation program for the 120-year-old museum situated near the square.
According to the Egypt's Minister of Tourism and Antiquities, Ahmed Issa, they announced the completion of the first phase of the Egyptian Museum in Tahrir Square's renovation, as they are delivering a message to the whole world that the Egyptian Museum in Tahrir Square is still developing. The centerpiece of the reopening of the upgraded wing is a scroll containing around 113 spells from the Book of the Dead and discovered last year. Mustafa Waziri, Secretary General of Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities, admitted that he was very proud finally to find the tallest, the longest and the strongest, the best quality papyrus ever discovered in the Egypt Waziri I papyri. The scroll consists of 150 columns written entirely in black and red in hieratic. For well over a decade, Egypt has been building a state-of-the-art museum near the pyramids, which is set to house tens of thousands of ancient artifacts. The Grand Egyptian Museum has so far cost over $1 billion, and its reopening date has been repeatedly delayed.
Moving on, a joint maritime military exercise is underway in South Africa involving China and Russia along with the South African Navy. Now, the multilateral naval drills named as Exercise Mossi II are scheduled to last until the 27th of February. We have more on this report.
According to a statement published on Sunday by the Ministry of Defense, the joint naval drill of China, Russia and South Africa is rich in content, including a dozen drill subjects such as anti-piracy, air defense and helicopters landing on each other's ships. While speaking after arriving in Richards Bay on Sunday, Huang Zhongxin, commander of the 42nd Escort Formation of Chinese Navy, said that the joint exercise will help the three parties deepen mutual trust, further promote their cooperation in security, improve their capacity to jointly maintain maritime security, and make still greater contributions to world peace. The first joint maritime exercise involving naval forces from China, Russia and South Africa took place in Cape Town in November 2019.
Away from that, the head of Tunisia's Islamist-inspired party appeared on Tuesday before the Tunis Anti-Terrorism Court. Now, his hearing comes amid a series of arrests of high-profile figures.
Rachid Ghannouchi, the chief of Tunisia's main opposition coalition, told the press upon arriving at the anti-terrorism court that it was a political targeting against the opposition made up of unproven and baseless cases which will not solve the country's economic problems, state, and the real problems. The leader of the National Salvation Front doubled down that it's a short-sighted policy in the face of the economic and social failures and the government's international political isolation. He said that President Kay Saied is trying to break the opposition, to break the trade union movement, to break the civil society movement, but will achieve nothing. Following the hearing session, the judge ordered the release of the 81-year-old. His supporters chanted slogans and held placards which read, "You are not alone." Ganochi had already been questioned in November 2022 by a judge of the Anti-Terrorist Judicial Division for a case linked to the alleged sending of jihadists in Syria and Iraq.
Now, Africa Today takes a quick break. We shall come back with business, health, and sports. Welcome back from the break. You're still watching TV Africa, the right to know. In a business news today, a group of Kenyan protesters led by comedian Eric Omondi blocked Nairobi's Parliament Road on Tuesday as they protested against the high cost of living. We have more on this report.
According to local media, the demonstrators demanded audience with the National Assembly Speaker. Indeed, they reportedly alleged that the Assembly conned the nation by legislating and passing a bill which resulted in higher levels of taxation. However, the group was not granted an audience. Police lobbed tear gas to disperse the shirtless protesters. Some demonstrators, including Omondi, were reportedly arrested. The attempted forceful entry was prompted by the failure of the Speaker to grant the group audience from within the precincts of the Parliament. According to the Kenyan National Bureau of Statistics, the inflation rate stood at 8.9% in January. Late last year, the board of the International Monetary Fund approved a disbursement of over $400 million into Kenya.
Today, Africa's longest river, the Nile, is under threat. It's essential for millions of people, including in Sudan. But it could vanish due to factors including rising sea levels, resulting in saltwater intrusions downstream.
Global warming and misuse by humans now jeopardize the future of the world's second longest river. The flow of the Nile has fallen from 3,000 cubic meters per second to 830 in the past 5 decades. According to Ahmed Abakar, a Nile Basin resident, agriculture now is not like before. Water levels are changing every year, which impact his crops, and he now takes longer time to irrigate the crops, which also needs gasoline. According to water expert Ahmed Al-Mufti, even more serious problems are around the corner. With the expected loss of water for environmental impacts, another issue is the increase of population against the current Nile quota, which means an overuse of Nile water and an increase of misusage are expected, which threatens the future of this river. A lack of rainfall and increased droughts expected in Africa means river flow could fall by 70% by 2100, according to the United Nations forecasts. It's predicted there could be a 75% loss of available water per local resident. In 2010, 5 upstream states signed a cooperative framework agreement. The text outlines principles, rights, and obligations for cooperation management and development of the Nile Basin water resources. Experts believe the river can only be saved if the countries it passes through commit to better joint management and sustainable development policies.
In sports news today, Vipers struggles in front of goal extended for yet another game after drawing goalless with visitors Wakiso Giants at Chitande on Tuesday.
The Venoms came into the game on the back of 4 successive games in a row without hitting the back of the net since Bianchi Beto replaced Brazilian Roberto Oliveira. Despite handing former Wakiso Giants striker Karim Ndugwa his home debut, they struggled to create any meaningful chances. Substitutes Najib Iga and Ivorian Ahmed Desire Titi came close but with no success. They could have been punished later in the game, but Sharif Kimbo's attempt failed to go past Alfred Mundekereza while Norman Ojikala was deflected. Vipers are now 4 points behind leaders KCCA after same number of games, while Wakiso Giants are 4th on 26 points. Vipers' next game will be in the CAF Champions League, where they take on Tanzania's Simba on Saturday before hosting Arua Hill on March 1st. In other games, Bull lost an opportunity to close in on leaders KCCA after drawing 1-1 with UPDF, while Blacks Power lost 2-0 at home against relegation rivals Busoga United.
Thank you so much, reporter. It is at this particular time that I thank you for being with us and always joining us. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We should keep updating you. It is TV Africa, the right to know.